Let's dive into what you need to know this week. First up, the Blue Line Network has proposed a Back the Blue memorial sticker event in Milton, honoring fallen Delaware State Police Corporal Matthew Ty Snook. They cited forecasts in the snow, obviously, that we saw this weekend in extreme cold, so they postponed that event. The nonprofit said on Facebook that it canceled the drive-by event that was scheduled for Saturday, January 18th at Hudson Fields, out of concern for safety and of the attendees, volunteers, and of course the law enforcement partners putting this on. The group said that it is working to reschedule and will announce a new date once it is confirmed. The Milton event would have been the organization's second sticker tribute for Officer Snook. A prior event in Glasgow on January 3rd drew hundreds of vehicles, as we told you about a couple weeks ago. The stickers are free, and the group collects donations that go to Snook's family. The Blue Line Network has said on their Facebook page that, get this, it raised over $38,000 from that January 3rd event that goes directly to the trooper's family. The Blue Line Network was founded in 2017, and they say they support law enforcement and other first responders, including those experiencing post-traumatic stress. You will recall 34-year-old Snook was shot and killed on December 23rd while working an overtime assignment at a Division of Motor Vehicles facility near Newcastle. And a new update that was just released before the weekend, Delaware State Police say that investigators have concluded that the shooting was a deliberate attack on law enforcement and that the gunman had no prior relationship or dispute with Officer Snook. In other news, 6 families are suing the mega popular social media app TikTok, alleging the platform's recommendation system is defective, addictive, and pushes harmful content to our minors. A Delaware judge right down the street here heard arguments on Friday on Delaware's TikTok motion to dismiss the lawsuit filed by 5 British families and 1 Delaware family. The families say their children ages 11 to 17 died after attempting what's called a choking challenge that they allegedly encountered through videos served on TikTok's For You page. They are seeking damages and access to information about what their kids viewed on the app. TikTok argues that the case should be dismissed under the First Amendment right and Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which generally shields internet companies from liability user-generated content. In a statement, TikTok said it prohibits content that promotes dangerous behavior and uses detection systems to remove rule-breaking videos, saying that most violating content is removed before it's reported. And Verizon, you probably had a bad day last week if you were down on Wednesday. They had a server failure over in New Jersey. It's always New Jersey, I'm telling you. Triggered last Wednesday's regional wireless outage and is offering affected customers a $20 credit for their inconvenience. The company said the outage blamed on a software issue and not a cyber attack. Disrupted voice and data services for hours on Wednesday across multiple states. We were one of those states. It prompted some local agencies to urge residents to use alternate ways to reach emergency services. Verizon said the service was later restored that night, and customers can redeem their credit through the My Verizon app. Verizon business customers, you will be contacted directly by a Verizon representative. To Kent County now, with just over 3 weeks until a referendum vote, voters in the Caesar Rodney School District are weighing whether or not to approve a tax increase that district leaders say is needed to maintain staffing, student services, and school safety. The vote is set for February 9th in a couple weeks. There it is on your screen. If approved, the operating referendum would raise taxes starting on July 1st of this year by about 9 cents per $100 assessed property value, or roughly $274 a year for the district's average home. This is said to generate over $6 million in the first year. School leaders say the money would actually not fund any new buildings or major construction, but would instead support recruitment and retention of teachers and staff, student support services, and security updates. The district last passed an operating referendum back in 2015, so it's been over 10 years. You may recall we told you a couple years ago that a 2023 attempt at a referendum did fail. District officials say budget cuts since then have reduced positions and spending, and that further reductions could affect classroom and support resources. Residents down in Dover remain divided, supporters calling the proposal an investment in students, and opponents saying that the added cost would be a burden to taxpayers. We'll keep you posted there. And before we wrap up this news segment, this one is getting a lot of attention on social media over the weekend. A state senator, also of Dover, has introduced a proposed constitutional amendment that would impose term limits on Delaware lawmakers and several statewide elected officials. Reviving a debate over experience, accountability, and voter choice, the bill, sponsored by Senator Eric Buckson of Dover, would limit state senators to 5 four-year terms, or 20 years, and state representatives to 8 two-year terms, or 16 years. The measure would also impose a 2-limit term on the Attorney General, State Treasurer, Auditor of Accounts, and Insurance Commissioner. Because the proposal would amend the Delaware Constitution, that's big, it would have to pass both chambers by a 2/3 vote in 2 consecutive legislative sessions before it could take effect. The bill has been assigned to the Senate Executive Committee. Supporters argue that term limits encourage turnover and prevent lawmakers from becoming entrenched. Now, opponents say that voters can already remove legislators at the ballot box and warn that limits can reduce institutional knowledge and shift influence to lobbyists and unelected staffs. Delaware voters previously rejected a term limits proposal back in 1994. We want to know what you think. Sound off in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on term limits, good, bad, or indifferent.